Okay, we are here for another episode of Creepy Americana, which you probably already know since you clicked on it, but anyway.
Yeah. I'm back.
Zach's back.
After a long hiatus. How long has it been?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And we also have special guest, Stacy.
Hello.
Her name is actually Stacy, not...
Yeah.
One of my other friends came on the podcast and used an alias, picked Stacy. Yeah, but this is actually Stacy.
And yes, my mom does have it going on.
I know who that was.
You probably do. The microphone's picking up that.
I listened to that one.
It was a good one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny. She just cut in the audio just Stacy. Just that montage, Stacy.
It's actually really funny.
It's hilarious. What episode was it? You have to show her.
It's the REC. We talked about the movie REC.
And then
Which, you remember? Okay, you and I just watched that movie,
Spanish one.
Veronica?
Yes.
Directed by the same person. Yeah, REC.
what is that movie?
It's about a Ouija demon thing, so...
It was not awful.
It wasn't awful, but people were saying that it was the scariest movie.
It was not the scariest.
It wasn't really scary at all.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I doubt it too.
Yeah,
it wasn't that scary.
No.
I have doubts, but that's because I saw it.
People always be like, "Oh man, this movie's so spooky."
No, but I think people tend to go the opposite direction, where they want to always say that something is not scary at all and it's really stupid, and they want to make fun of it.
There's two ends of the spectrum. There's
nothing in the middle. It was
no
okay.
median for that. It's okay. It could have been better. I got a little spooked in there in the middle, but then
I feel like
it was I don't think it was a bad movie. It was made well. I didn't necessarily find it scary though.
So it's like a Ouija demon thing.
Yeah.
So your standard Hollywood Ouija board crap.
Find board games scary.
Well, Toys R Us is going out of business, so they're probably selling things for real cheap. So let's go get a Ouija board at Toys R Us.
I want to go get one that glows in the dark, so the ghosts can see us in the dark.
Oh yeah.
We don't need candles.
There you go. That'll avoid all of the problems, because the candles was the main problem in that. No, it's
Clearly.
not. Spoilers, I suppose. The reason that she got in trouble at all was because they forgot to say goodbye on the board, which is not really
and then the demon,
a thing.
Impersonated her dead father.
It is.
It's not.
It is.
It's just impolite. But
ghosts hold super huge grudges.
Yeah, but you're not gonna die.
Aggro as fuck. It depends on the ghost, dude.
Is that where they got the idea of the grudge?
No.
Oh man, that would have been such.
That's your standard Japanese curse.
No shit, Zach was being sarcastic.
No. Do they even use Ouija boards in Japan?
Probably not. It's a pretty Western invention. I think it's either English or American, and it really came into popularity because of the spiritualism movement.
Being into the occult was all the rage.
Oh yeah.
We are not here to talk about demons. That was last month. This is Zombie Month.
Zambies.
Zambambos.
Zambambotrons.
Zambarinos.
Zimbabwe's.
Also walkers were biters. For them were
bloaters,
biters,
clickers,
roamers. They called them. There was one group that called them roamers. I think one group was like, "Oh, we just call them shitheads or something."
Oh, the infected. Sometimes it depends on
the
science.
Will just say infected.
It really depends on the movie.
Because there's movies like World War Z and Contagion and things like that where
movie
it's all
was fucking hilarious.
World War Z.
Yeah,
I never saw it.
It was the funniest shit.
It's not a good movie.
I haven't seen it. When there was the wall.
A movie where I just could not hold it in.
The part where he cut off that girl's arm, her hand.
That was one of them. Spoilers.
He cuts off an Israeli army person's hand to prevent her from it spreading.
Yeah.
Though that's not how that works, but
she gets bit. And the whole scene goes in slow motion. He sees what happened, looks at his machete, and then cuts off her arm all in the span of 5 seconds in real time. It is hilarious. And then there's one scene, which is my favorite scene in the entire movie. It's where the special ops team are going in for an extraction with the scientist. And they get off the plane and it's raining and stuff. And they give the guy a gun. They give him a pistol. And he's okay. And it's raining and they go in and they get off the plane. They go 20 feet. And then the zombies just start running. They're rushing them. And they're like, oh shit, get back on the plane. And they turn around, they get back on the plane. The scientist has the gun still in his hand. He slips on the ramp and shoots himself in the head.
I knew that was what you were going to say, and that's very, very stupid.
I thought it was the funniest shit ever.
That was definitely in there to be funny.
I laughed my ass off at that scene, and, everybody was staring at me, but it was worth it, because that scene's amazing.
Worth it.
But I think a lot of, like, the mediums of, like, zombie movies and, like, video games, like, people try to take their own fresh ideas and fresh spins on, like, the idea of, like, a zombie apocalypse, And
I think it has a lot to do with what kind of quote-unquote message they're trying to sell.
Right.
Yeah,
or
like with
whatever.
with The Last of Us, it was like a cordyceps fungus-based infection, which is semi-plausible because it happens,
treatable.
Yeah, it happens.
Unlike viruses.
To insects.
Like ants.
Oh, I know exactly.
Spiders.
Yeah. Where
That's like
it
a real
takes
thing.
over and makes it do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Or just random.
I know what you're talking about.
Or just random happenstance of just like you got bit by a spider, you're a zombie now. And people try to take a oversaturated and dead, like ultimately dead medium like zombies and try to put their fresh take and spin on it. Like, man, you got these new zombies, like they're super fast, and then you got these ones that are like really fat and they blow up and puke on you and stuff.
And then we've got zombies where you don't even have to get bit, you just die and you become a zombie.
All the dead people come back as zombies for some reason, and there's no real explanation.
Nope. One person thought there was a cure, and that character should have died when it was revealed that there was no cure. But
people are trying to like make sense of the whole situation, but like at least to me, it's like I don't think anybody has time to do that because like everybody's rising from their graves and like I wonder why this is happening. We should go figure that out. And then he gets eaten.
well,
There's no time to stop and think about that.
also he could blow himself up in
That was,
I Am Legend?
I Am
yes,
Legend.
I Am Legend. Yes,
Which
because
was-
there were the weird zombies, like
But they're like vampires in the movie. I mean, in the book.
zombie
They-
vampire things
yeah.
with horrible CGI.
Yeah.
So,
well, that was like 2004.
Let's
Something
No
like that.
excuses. It was bad. Then.
Let's try to figure out the distinction between what constitutes a zombie or zombie-like creature.
Reanimation.
If something dies and comes back to life.
A zombie or zombie-like creature.
Reanimation.
If something dies and comes back to life and has to survive off of human flesh. Now, technically, a vampire could be considered a zombie under this.
I think, well, okay, if you go back far enough, and I think this is something that Savannah has talked about previously, I think on a Graveyard episode. Zombies and werewolves and vampires all have very similar origins.
Right.
And they didn't really
Deviate until movies, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was maybe some precedence for it in history, but I don't have that off the top of my head. But they were pretty much just afraid of people coming back to life.
Right, but...
And it's all pretty much the same.
But one of the ways, I know with vampires, one of the ways that people, like, came across the idea of vampires, like, if they dug up a corpse for whatever reason, maybe they had to
make sure they were
move
dead.
it, yeah, remove it. And if it was freshly buried, then all of the bacteria in the body as it decomposes would, like, push the liquid soup that used to be your organs out of the mouth and other orifices.
It also really depends on the type of soil, apparently.
Yeah.
Because some types of soil can preserve bodies better than others. Like, I think Savannah said that it was volcanic soil. Back in the day, there was this Greek island that had the highest concentration of vampires. Because they all had, like, the red mouths and stuff like that. And they were
then
really
they
well
look
preserved.
like they're bloated as well because of all the buildup of gases. And like, oh, it looks like they just fed, and these people over here seem ill, so clearly this person came back to life.
And messed with them.
And
Yes.
what's the reasoning behind that? Like, we dug this person up and there's blood around their mouth. That means that they're a vampire.
And we've got to put a stake in their heart and
They didn't really
burn
understand
them or cut
process.
their head off and put their head in between their legs.
No, I'm thinking about the logistics of that as like, okay, so you dig this person up, right?
to make sure that they were dead.
Right.
But you had suspicions that they were not.
And you see that there's blood around their mouth, so like, oh, they must be a vampire. Why in the fuck would they dig themselves out of the grave, get out of the casket, go feed on somebody,
and then
get
come back
in the casket, and then put the dirt back on top of them. How?
Yeah. I don't think they thought that through.
No, they most certainly did not. Tunnel vision.
Like, it could have been, like, grave robbers, which has always been an issue pretty much since the beginning of time.
Well, it depends. Yeah.
But specifically more so during like, the 1800s. But
for medical purposes.
Like,
for medical purposes. Right. But yeah, people were...
That's because they knew there's treasure. And
right.
stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But
you
robbing graves for jewelry or treasure or money or the body itself has always been a problem.
Yeah.
For whatever reason they're wanting to rob it to begin with.
I think the whole reasoning behind ancient civilizations thinking, oh, this person has something weird going on with them, that must mean that they're coming back from the dead and like they're a zombie or, you know, whatever. And it just stems from a lack of mostly
medical
ignorance,
knowledge. Yeah.
Ignorance and lack of medical knowledge, which is understandable because, like, you know, these are ancient, semi-primitive civilizations.
What are you Googling?
Why do we dig up dead people?
I was trying to see, like, what would be, like, the first reason that somebody would have. Because, I mean, I was thinking grave robbing would be the earliest reason.
Yeah, but if you were doing something illegal, why would you go to the authorities and be like, hey, this person has, like, a red mouth,
because if you think that they're eating other people, you might be like...
But I found out while I was doing an illegal thing.
They might herald you as a hero. You know, you really stopped something nasty here, my friend.
Exhume their dead after so much time, like after a year or something like that, and dress them up and maybe have them display in their home or somewhere in their house and pretend the person's alive and offer them food and everything, maybe upon doing things like this.
Yeah.
Earlier.
So the question is, why do we have zombies?
Why do we have zombies?
And why are they prevalent and why do they still...
Why are zombies so popular?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Why are they so popular? We could say that George A. Romero is single-handedly responsible for carrying a genre.
You could say that he was making a commentary on consumerism, which is what so many people have said when it comes to the popularity of zombies. But I mean, the height of consumerism really got started in the 50s and 60s.
Like They Live.
I love They Live.
Yeah, that's
one movie I really want to
but
see.
That's not zombies,
There's
that's
not
aliens.
Zombies in 60s.
Like They Live.
I love They Live.
Yeah, that's
one movie I really want to
but
see.
That's not zombies,
There's
that's
not
aliens,
zombies.
isn't it?
That's more body snatcher kind of thing.
It's more body snatchers,
impersonating.
but they turn into zombie-like creatures.
They're not like zombie-like creatures. They just have like weird faces, and the guy can only see that they're that weird alien thing with the.
It's an alien, yeah.
Yeah, he came there to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
And he's out of bubblegum.
Like, I get the idea behind using that as a metaphor for capitalism and consumerism and stuff, but it could also like paint a picture of, oh, what would civilized society resort to when we don't have those systems in place because shit is fucked and they're dead people running around everywhere eating each other.
I think that there is a larger cultural thing about being concerned with the end times. I think we've been very fatalistic for a long time.
I wonder if that's more so
as zombie-centric as we are.
More not specifically just zombies, but the apocalypse in general. Like, there are so many people here. Not a whole lot of people have bunkers in their homes and everything.
But there are
people.
There
are those people who do that. But there are people who, like, I definitely know people who stockpile guns and food and all sorts of other things.
Doomsday preppers.
Yeah, just in case of anything, whether it's the apocalypse or zombies or just like a hurricane or tornado or something like that kind of situation.
Do you know there's an episode of The Twilight Zone that's about that? Yeah, it's like this one guy, his family, like, they build a bunker underneath their house, and it's really only big enough for, like, his family, and they go in there and they close it off, and all these people, his neighbors and stuff, are like, you know, banging on the door and like, we'll do this, we'll do that, and then when he doesn't let them in, they start like resorting to saying like awful stuff.
right.
to him, and then it turns out to not be a real threat, then they have to like deal with the consequences of all the shit that they said.
And then he also has to deal with them.
It's like knowing that that's your neighbors.
Right. That's
And-
pretty fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, when you're that desperate, I mean, some of them were just like, please take my kids.
Right.
And they're like, really, we don't have enough space or oxygen for that.
That reminds me of the movie Last Man on Earth. When there were people, they were kind of like zombie vampire type things. It was like somewhere a mix between the two, the creatures in it. But there was a guy who was like yelling at Vincent Price's character, and he's like, you know, hey, let me in. Hey, you did this. How dare you? Or whatever the things he was saying and whatnot. And, you know, then he goes around during the day and finds them and kills them and throws them all together. And I didn't even think about that movie being considered a zombie movie, but, you know, maybe
I guess there are some things that are maybe proto.
Yeah.
Proto-zombie.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they kind of can be considered at the beginning of the genre, but
Yeah.
not necessarily
Like,
really
it
in the
wasn't
genre.
anything like George Romero popularity kind of thing, but because Vincent Price is in it.
Last Man on Earth is actually adapted from the novel I Am Legend, which is, you know, we all know it as that Will Smith movie with the sort of zombie vampire hybrids.
Like, let's look at the identifying factors of the monsters from I Am Legend. They only come out at night,
Vampires.
really fast.
Vampires?
Yeah, vampires. Really strong.
Vampires?
They have a pack mentality.
Not vampires? Maybe?
They follow a singular pointed leader.
Not necessarily.
Vampires. There was that one dude that they were all following, and he was like locking eyes with Will Smith, and he's like, hey,
Fred? No, I'm just kidding.
locking eyes with Will Smith, and he's like, hey,
Fred? No, I'm just kidding.
come out here so I can eat your face.
Oh, wait. They did have... Well, okay, there's another thing. Do they have some sort of intelligence?
Yes.
So in I Am Legend, yes, they do have some sort of intelligence. Initially, you think they're just mindless zombie creatures, but then later on you see that they end up trapping Will Smith's character.
Like raptors.
But then
Zombified
versus like
raptors.
The Walking Dead,
Thank you.
Dinosaurs.
they are just mindless creatures. They don't have anything there at all.
There are older movies that have like the word zombie in the title,
Right. Well, yeah.
and like White Zombie, that's a Bela Lugosi movie. But I don't think there's anything in that movie that you would recognize as a zombie.
Right, yeah, George Romero really did
Codify
yeah.
zombies in a lot of ways.
Ooh, interesting question. How strong are zombies? How strong should zombies be?
Well, theoretically, they're literally rotting, so they shouldn't be very strong at all. And their muscles should be atrophying,
But
if
in
anything.
practice, they're
And-
just like
Yeah, so much
Crazy
media
strong.
shows them as being incredibly strong. The Walking Dead, for example, they'll show them like tearing into a person's
Skin.
stomach or their skin, but also into a horse's skin or into a tiger's skin and whatnot. And it's just
That
like,
seems difficult.
yeah, like as a human with working muscles, and I can't imagine how that would work. So something that is literally decomposing,
Wouldn't make sense.
right? But you know, of course.
So why would we depict it that way? What do you think would be a reason?
I mean, I guess to just make them seem more terrifying. Like maybe it's just to fuck with you. Like, how is this happening? How is
What-
this happening?
I-
How is
what-
this happening?
I
Because that would
mean-
freak me out. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like my mind would go to like, oh my god, this thing is happening, but also, but I don't want to know. I have to run for my life. But how?
I think like in modern media, like if you see like a zombie, like automatically it's scary enough as it is, but like if you see it just trying to bite somebody, then you'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. But if you see it trying to like rip into somebody's stomach and like eat their like entrails,
Yeah.
and
Which I'm
stuff,
pretty sure they did in Dawn of the Dead, by the way.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's scary. But like if you see a zombie going up to somebody
And they're just
trying to
like-
do that, and they're like,
yeah.
I'm making a motion trying to rip my stomach open, it's not working.
But if
It's not working.
zombies,
It's not
like,
working.
if zombies really were real and they really were strong enough to do that, I mean, that would scare the shit out of me.
That doesn't make sense scientifically. I mean, zombies don't make sense scientifically.
Yeah, they don't make sense scientifically, but if somehow this virus or whatever it is that's bringing them back to life could give them that kind of strength, I mean, that would terrify me.
I read this article earlier today, and it was talking about how, climate change is melting certain areas further north, and diseases
that
have been frozen in the tundra.
For thousands.
That's why, like,
there
there is a Scandinavian town where it is illegal to die.
What?
It's illegal to die.
Yeah, the reasoning behind
about Disney World.
The reasoning behind
that's not a myth.
It's a myth.
They take people away, so they're not technically. They'll take them just outside so they can declare them dead.
People have died in Disney World.
I know that they have.
Yeah.
It's not illegal to die in Disney.
No, it's not illegal. No, but like
It's
they
just
try
frowned
to.
upon.
They'll
try to
take people away. Yes, that's
Yes.
100% true. But like, there's this thing.
Have you
that goes
And
This
the turkey legs are actually ostrich. Okay.
I thought it was a city or town or nation where it is illegal to die. The reasoning behind this is that there are corpses of people from previous civilizations frozen under the permafrost that are believed to contain
Contagions?
contagions and long dead viruses and bacteria and stuff like that.
I don't see how that has anything to do with
I
not
don't know
dying.
either. Like, I don't get it. Dying is illegal in Longyearbyen, Norway.
Can you read that again? Can you say the word? The name?
Longyearbyen.
You should Google
That sounds right.
I'm gonna pull up another Google page. I'm gonna put it in Google Translate. Okay.
Translate.
Yeah.
Translate so it can spell it.
Yeah, so you can say it out loud. Oh, Longyearbyen.
Longyearbyen.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you were pretty close.
Yeah. Longyearbyen, Norway. It is illegal to die because the town's small graveyard. Norway. It is illegal to die because the town's small graveyard stopped accepting bodies after discovering the permafrost prevented the bodies from decomposing.
So it's not
those
illegal.
bodies contain like contagions and stuff. A few years ago, a group of scientists decided to conduct a study on the permafrost phenomenon, which preserves the corpses in the graveyard. They examined the tissue of a person who died in the town and found that his body had preserved the influenza virus since his death in the 1917 epidemic.
1917.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yes.
That's not good.
No.
It's not. Well, if people...
All this is to say that who's to say a zombie apocalypse could not be nigh, given these...
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if there really was a fungus that could potentially
control your brain.
I mean, yeah, something. Well,
obviously,
I'm curious how the fungus controls the. I know that the fungus does control.
It really kind of infects the whole entire body.
Right. That the fungus does control.
It really kind of infects the whole entire body.
Right.
And
yeah, it makes you a fun guy.
but I'm just curious, like. Would it just have to be like a gigantic piece of fungus?
Spores.
Like gets in your body and it like grows. But I mean, obviously ants are really small, so it's not that hard.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like how could that translate
I think
to a
that
human?
the amount of like spores or like mushrooms or whatever that have to like enter your body would be like astronomical in
order to get
like,
to that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what about the speed of zombies? Like, for example, in 28 Days Later, there are fast zombies. Also in I Am Legend.
Speedy boys.
Well, I think for the same reason that they wouldn't be strong, they wouldn't be fast either. They shouldn't be
Olympic
fast.
class sprinters.
Right.
They shouldn't be able to leap several.
I'm just saying that they're like rotting flesh, so like their
So then
muscles should be atrophied.
I guess it just depends. Like in that case, it is a virus that changes the person. It's not that the person dies and comes back to life. Like it's not like they get the virus, and then the virus kills them, and then the virus brings them back to life.
Oh, they're
like
not actually dead.
Like
they never died.
When they get shot or like get their heads cut off or something, there's some kind of like goop or presumably blood that comes out. So there's something that is perfusing their tissue and keeping their cells alive.
Mm-hmm.
Goop.
Right.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be blood.
Well, there's
It could be something.
Like
Could
I
be
think
goop.
in 28 Days Later, they would
Motor oil.
they would
Turbo
vomit blood over another person, and that
Blarg.
person would end up getting the
Brain
virus
zombie
and
vomit all
do the
over
same
you.
thing. And then they go and like try to eat people and whatnot, but
Okay.
it wasn't like
So that does change things. If they're not
So, yeah.
dead, I guess that those are the two sort of different types of zombies.
dying
Which is,
and
I guess,
coming back.
goes back to your question about what constitutes a zombie.
in 28 Days Later, I think they called the virus like rage or something like that. But so it was like they were mindless.
Yeah.
But then there's also Shaun of the Dead, mindless.
To an extent.
To an
except
extent,
for
they
Nick
can
Frost.
play video games.
Right.
They can follow very simple commands if you keep them chained up, and you know.
With
You
the
can potentially
Resident
live with your zombie best friend.
with the Resident Evil movies, they like established from the very beginning, like the first movie when they talked to the Red Queen about what the hell was going on, and they were like, "Hey, we got zombies. They're dead, but they're still walking around. They only have one thing they want to do." But they're still walking around. They only have one thing they want to do. They have the need to feed. And they just busted the door. They kind of went off that track, like, as the movies went on. Like, they introduced, like, monsters from the video games, like the lickers, those little clacky boys with the long tongues and their exposed brains.
Okay.
Then, like, the tyrant is just like a big honking dude with a green trench coat, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get you." And they would have creatures that were developed that they would have like a certain semblance of like intelligence, like Nemesis. He's a big dude, half of his face is stapled shut. His sole purpose is to kill all the members of the STARS unit, and the entire movie he's just like, "STARS." And then Alice is like, "Matt, is that you?" The dude that she was with in like the first movie, like, gets separated and he gets turned into a monster. These are just dumb monsters. There's a bunch of them. They're gonna kill all of you. That's just what they want to do. These are semi-intelligent creatures that will devise a plan to rip your face off instead of trying to like
Just do it.
just do it.
I wonder if that has a lot to do with the time period that the movies were made in, and it may have something to do with, again, what the message, what the movie is trying to say, what kind of commentary it's trying to present.
Also, maybe like the worst kind of monster that you could face is something that
Yeah.
used to, like looks like somebody that you used to love, or, well, somebody that you do love because it's that person's body, but they're clearly not.
No, I'm just remembering a scene from one of the Resident Evil games, like one of the dumbest scenes in video game history, where like there's this guy, his name is Steve Burnside. In Evil games, like one of the dumbest scenes in video game history, where like there's this guy, his name is Steve Burnside, and the entire game he's just being annoying. There's a part where you have to rescue him, and he's like, "Nah, help me," and you're like halfway across like the other side of the map, and you have to go help him, get him out before he dies. But there's a part where you're like in a garage and you're just talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, my family got taken here and all this stuff, and they took away my dad. I don't know where he's at." And then his dad shows up and he's a zombie, and then Steve sees him, he's like, "What?" No, he's like pointing the guns at him, and he's like mad at his dad because he's a piece of shit or something, and his dad's coming at him, and he starts shooting him, and he goes, "Father!" And I lost my shit. I thought that was supposed to be like a tense, like, feely moment, and he ruined it with his fucking dumbass voice. Father! Shooting him, and you're just sitting there the entire time. Your character's sitting there, and you're just like, "What is happening?" You're just like, happening. You're just like, "Oh, okay." Oh, family conflict resolved. We did it.
I guess
That's one
so.
for the books.
One for
We
the
got
books.
it. That's how you do it. You resolve family conflict. You get in a fight with your dad. He gets taken away on a prison on an island. He gets turned into a zombie. You shoot him in the face. That's how you do it. Conflict resolution 101. Easy.
Easy.
Another thing that happened in Shaun of the Dead with the guys, I think it was his stepfather.
And he's like, "That's not your mother anymore," or whatever. Or
Yeah, or It was just like, the mom was like freaking out.
And he
or
didn't like his
something.
stepdad.
Yeah, he didn't like his stepdad, but I think the mom was freaking out because the stepdad got bit or something, and then the stepdad turned into a zombie and tried to attack them, and Sean like has to go, probably bashed his head in or something, I don't remember. Killed him in some kind of way, and it was a whole thing, but of course he was not incredibly upset
Yeah.
about
Didn't they like
all of that.
bait his head in like with pool cues to like Queen?
I don't remember Queen being in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, it was like it was Don't Stop Me Now, and it's just a rotating shot of them taking turns hitting him in the back with pool
That
cues.
makes sense.
God
though.
bless
I can
you,
see
Edgar
it.
Wright.
Yes.
It's just like boom, bam, boom, bam, boom. Edgar Wright does a lot of stuff like that with his movies. Like
Yeah, he
with,
does.
Going into the psychology more, if you had to, let's say like your mom or father, family member, that
Someone you
really,
care
really
about.
yeah, anybody that you really truly care about, if they were turned into a zombie and were coming at you,
Hard.
would you have what it would take to kill them, to protect yourself or to protect somebody else around you? And that's the kind of thing that I feel like it's part of pop culture that we kind of ask ourselves this question at some point.
Because it is hard. It is hard to
Right.
say that body is no longer my loved one.
Right.
Like,
Especially came back to life, which I think would be like the worst.
then I like at that point I didn't think you'd know. Like, they'd be so badly decomposed. Like,
Well, if they died and came back to life, like they died, because, I mean, well, in The Walking Dead, like, it depends on the person, like, how long it takes for them to come back, but it could be, like, 5 seconds later, it could be a day later, it just depends on the person. But then you've got other ones where it'll be, you know, like, immediately, like, basically in Dawn of the Dead, I think it's pretty much immediately. And Shaun of the Dead also.
I think the psychology of having to like kill one of your loved ones after they've become like an unfeeling, mindless monster. I think there are a lot of factors that go into that. Do you hate your loved one?
Right.
Well,
Do you hate your loved one?
Are they truly your loved one?
Dude,
like,
is it like your stepdad, or was it like it was an uncle who was shitty? You voted for Trump. Kill him immediately. You like guns so much. Here's one for you.
you
Boom.
know, somebody else who you like genuinely care about, like whether that maybe that's your mom and your
So we're
sibling,
taking
your
that
best
we're
friend
taking
or
that out of
whatever.
the equation. You know, it's
Like,
not going to
not-
be like
But that makes it
your
easier.
Uncle Ricky who's a pedophile.
like that.
equation. We're not putting in like the do you hate this person that is
Related to you.
Yeah,
related
because that's
to
too easy.
Yeah, that's
like
the-
somebody
but-
that you genuinely do love and care about.
Feels a little bit like that train question.
The train question, like there's a train barreling down the tracks and there's two different ways to go. On one track there's 1,000 people and on the other track there's one person.
But it's a
Which
person
per-
you care about.
But it's a person
Right.
you care about. What do? Don't choose a track.
Well,
Just go straight up the middle.
That's not how trains work.
it's
Jump
gonna
off
go
the
one
train.
of-
It's gonna go one, so it might just go the way that
it's
it's
gonna
already
go one
set.
way or the other way.
Sacrifice yourself. Jump off the train so you don't have to make the decision. And you die. It doesn't matter. You're dead. Who cares? Off the train so you don't have to make the decision. And you die. It doesn't matter. You're dead. Who cares?
A lot of people would say
Everybody's
like
dead.
they'd rather one person die than all of these other people die.
The good
It's-
of the many
Right.
over the good of the
But
few.
at the same time, that would be really horrific to think about. It's very difficult to think about losing somebody that you care about or having to deal with that situation yourself.
So maybe zombies are so popular because they're the easiest monster to project on?
Yeah, that's a possibility.
It's the easiest monster to identify with.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to identify with a wolfman unless you're like,
Super hairy.
super hairy or you're like otherkin, like I'm a dog.
What about going back to the apocalypse kind of situation to like so many people, as we were talking about before, have thoughts. It's kind of like fantasies, like, oh, if the world ended up this way, like,
I can kill caribou.
I can do this. I can do
You
all
can
these
kill
things.
caribou. Can you kill something that fights back?
But what about people who aren't necessarily prepared
caribou.
in a like physical way like that, but prepare themselves mentally about
Yeah.
like, all right, well,
What do I do?
Looking around the room. What
Doomsday
uses a
prepper.
weapon?
Well, who's to say that if we do have a zombie, air quotes, apocalypse, that we wouldn't be able to contain it? Because in most forms of media, the beginning of a zombie apocalypse, like most of the people that are dealing with that situation are bumbling idiots. It's that situation of like, there's a cop and there's a zombie shuffling towards him, and the cop has his gun out and he just lets the zombie come in and eat him. If that was real life cops, they would have shot his ass like 50 feet before they got to him. No questions asked. Just bap right in the chest, and then he wouldn't go down. And they realized, oh, this is zombie. And that's the thing.
Not a black person.
Exactly. They would have shot him before, when they saw him.
Black person.
Exactly. They would have shot him before, when they saw him on the street acting weird. But
that is what happened to the guy that ate the other guy's face. They shot him.
Yeah.
Right away.
But he ate some dude's face.
He did eat some guy's face, and they said that he was acting like an animal. So who knows if that?
He didn't have any clothes on. He did not.
He was naked. Yeah.
In some ways, you could say he was a zombie.
You could say he was a zombie. I'm calling it now. Bath salts makes people into zombies and reviving that old.
But that guy didn't have anything in his system except marijuana, which clearly that's marijuana.
It was laced with something. There's no way. Unless
The toxicology, what they released.
Yeah, at least
toxicology didn't reveal anything crazy.
Because obviously, like,
because they were trying to blame bath salts. Which
they were, which turned out to not be.
Bath salts.
We were talking about, like, who's to say that we wouldn't survive or quarantine a apocalypse style scenario before it plays out into apocalypse level, just straight
it's potential, like
everybody dead.
There's a potential for there to be some sort of way to contain it, like the CDC could find a way to deal with it. I mean, that's what happened.
Protocols for
that
that
shit. It would just depend how it started to begin with, how many people were infected, and then how many
people it spreads to.
Right.
I mean, this basically, they talk about it in Contagion.
Like, if they literally, if it just started with one person, and if that person was
it would take a while.
like, then maybe it'd be fine.
This is what I was thinking about. This is a very important thing. The notion that as a society we wouldn't be able to deal with an apocalypse style scenario involving zombies isn't necessarily true. Because in movies where this is happening, are we sure that...
It's a little too meta, dude. I don't know.
I mean, some of them don't contain zombie-centric media.
Right, because they don't...
That's why they don't use the word zombie.
They don't talk about it. They don't use the word zombies. They don't like
that's in The Walking Dead. But then you've got other ones where they'll totally be like, yeah, zombies.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, zombies. Or they'll just say it, or they won't mention why, or they'll just call it monsters, or it, or things, or whatever. Walkers, the dead, the infected. But we, as a culture, have zombie-centric media. We know how in movies and forms of these media that people have dealt with these scenarios, we can kind of form our own battle plan for dealing with these types of situations before they get out of control. So we obviously have like a little bit more to go on than like, oh my god, Aunt Kathy is eating Jason's face.
Oh my god.
She's eating Jason's face.
Oh my god.
She's eating him. And then they're gonna eat me too. Oh my god. One more thing. Vampires, I think, in certain forms, yes, could be considered zombies.
Very similar.
Or at least very similar.
Really, I think that they have a common ancestor.
Right.
Right.
I would think if they're mindless, they could be more so zombies, but if there's intelligence there, like in...
But vampires did start out that way, unintelligent.
And what constitutes being mindless, right? Like, if you follow a certain...
Like, if you're driven by instinct.
Drive, an uncontainable need to do one specific thing. I gotta eat this guy's brains. I can't stop it. I gotta do it. Gotta eat this guy's brain, you know what I'm saying? And then you go do it, and you keep doing it, you just can't stop. I think that could constitute as mindless as opposed to just
instinct over
meandering around.
Choice.
Could constitute as mindless as opposed to just
instinct over
meandering around
choice.
and shambling. But acting on instinct could be considered mindless because you're not thinking about the action. You're just
like a
doing
drone.
It. Yeah.
Another thing thrown at the last minute. What about Frankenstein's monster? Would that be considered a zombie? I mean, it's made up of dead parts and it did come back to life and it doesn't eat brains, but it is a reanimated corpse.
It has a
I think so.
semblance of intelligence. That
No, dude, he's really smart.
yeah.
Yeah, well, depending on which
Apparently not
version
smart
you're
enough to
talking
not
Okay,
throw
well,
somebody
I'm
in
talking
there.
about the book.
Yes, I see where you're going there. If you're talking about the book, then yes, he's extremely intelligent, but
But in the movie, he's like,
yeah, depends
Well,
on
and
the
it's
movie.
interesting, too, that they made the choice to do that,
that makes him just
considering...
kind of some fumbling idiot who
Yeah.
throws this girl into a lake.
Considering...
Just drowns.
Well, it depends on your weird.
I'm having fun! And, you know, the portrayal of vampires is much like the portrayal of zombies. It depends on the media. Like, if you're talking about Underworld, then yeah, vampires are super hedonistic fuck machines that just like to suck blood and other things.
Well, if it's like
Dick.
Dicks.
if it's the
Sucking on
anti-white
some vampire
vampires, then
titties.
yeah. So basically, any like a reanimated corpse or a mindless creature that needs human flesh to survive.
Let's say and/or.
And/or.
Yeah, I think that is a relatively good working definition.
Zombies.
And I think that they're probably popular because they're easy to project on and easy to relate to, and also the thing that we're scared of most because they're most like ourselves.
Because they're us. Yeah, I mean, like, thinking about, like, vampires and werewolves, people were really concerned about diseases killing people, and that was difficult. Werewolves, people were really concerned about diseases killing people, and that was difficult to deal with, so you could say that, things like that. But, well, more so with vampires, things like that were how people dealt with it. And then werewolves, you could say xenophobia, being afraid of the other. There's a theory, which I think it's very possible is the case. There's a theory that people who have hair all over your entire body, and so people who have that condition clearly could have inspired the myths of werewolves and more than likely inspired the story of Beauty and the Beast.
It is called hypertrichosis.
Yes. Hypertrichosis.
All
I
right.
think we've covered
We
all of
will
Man.
sign off then.
What's the next one?
Next
Kinda
month
looking-
is art.
art.
Yeah.
So like horror art.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about Layers of Fear
Okay.
and Kronos eating his son.
I've seen it in person.
That's
I thought
not
it's
10.